With us right now is Cliff Albright, co-founder of the Black Voters Matter Fund, one of the groups that's suing Georgia over this restrictive new law.
Cliff, good to see you. Walk us through this lawsuit. It won't be the last.
No, it certainly won't be the last. We're suing the state. We believe that this law is a violation of not just the First Amendment, but the 14th Amendment, most importantly. And we've got some great attorneys on our side who have a lot of experience with a lot of the lawsuits that defeated Trump during the most recent election.
What's the basis of it?
I mean, the basis is that the impact of this law is going to be disproportionately affecting black and brown voters, right? That, you know, our voting rights should not be limited on the basis of race, and we believe that the impact will show that. And what we know is that similar laws, similar provisions, whether you're looking at the photo ID aspect of this law, the drop box limitation portions of this law, the food and the water, right, which is directly targeted at organizations like ours, is going to have an impact disproportionately in black communities. And one of the biggest issues, which I don't think a lot of people are talking enough about, is the issue that allows the state to come in and take over county Board of Elections. If that, and you heard Donald Trump say, what he said exactly fits the intentions. He said if this law was in place earlier, he would have been able to win. And that's exactly correct, because it would have empowered the state to do exactly what he was asking them to do, which was to come in, invalidate some counties. Oh, I don't know, hypothetically, Fulton County, where a vast number of the state's black population lives, and it would have allowed them to overturn this election. That one provision on top of the others makes this one of the most dangerous and, yes, Jim Crow 2.0 laws that we've seen since post-Reconstruction.
So, Cliff, I want to ask you about what we were just discussing with Josh, and that is this idea of boycotting potentially these businesses that are based there in Atlanta. Josh named a few, but Aflac, Delta, Coca-Cola, Netflix. Where does your organization stand? Are you calling for a boycott right now?
Yeah, you know, we launched the corporate accountability campaign along with several of our little partner organizations, New Georgia Project, which is actually also a partner in the litigation. And we're going to keep that campaign on, and you named them. You know, Delta, I have a flight today. We're supposed to go to Texas, which has its own versions of this voter suppression law. And normally my organization will fly Delta. We're not flying Delta. Delta, as well as some of the other companies, put out statements after this bill was passed. They were remarkably silent before it was passed, but then they put out statements, and the Delta statement is just straight gaslighting. It's actually insulting the way they're framing it, the same way that Governor Kemp is framing it, like, oh, this is actually an advancement for voting access, when we know the exact opposite.
But couldn't a boycott also potentially affect those workers who would be among the disenfranchised in a negative way?
Well, what we've been calling for is a corporate accountability campaign. In other words, we've been putting pressure on the companies. We've been phoning their phone banks. We've been going to their offices. We were at the airport just the other day. And in fact, I was at the Delta terminal when Park Cannon was arrested at the Capitol. And so we've been talking more about corporate accountability and corporate pressure than boycott. With that said, there are other groups and just a organic national movement that has said boycott Coke. I was on a program yesterday where former Senator Al Franken held up his Pepsi because he said he's boycotting Coke. And so we encourage that. We encourage actions like the Major League Baseball Players Association, which apparently is calling for the All-Star game to not come to Georgia. And so we encourage that. So we're not leading a boycott. We're not doing a formal call for a boycott, but we're certainly encouraging other entities, organizations, conferences to take that into consideration with these companies and with the state overall.
Hey, Cliff, really appreciate you being here. I know that photo of the bill signing was infuriating to you, and in like 10 seconds, why so?
Yeah, when you look at the photo of the bill signing, and by that photo, I'm talking about the photo of Governor Kemp signing the bill. He's surrounded by 6 white men, you know, and what it raises is there was a time when he and those people in that room, those other 6 white men, keep in mind, there was a time, the founding of this country, where they were the only ones, I'm assuming that they're all property owners, that they were the only ones that actually would have been able to vote. And that picture is so symbolic of that, and it really shows what their intentions are. They're not even trying to hide the optics. But what makes that photo worse is that it was juxtaposed with what was happening on the opposite side of the door. Right, the arrest of Representative Park Cannon, who is a fierce advocate for social justice.
All right, Cliff, I got to leave it there. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for being there. and for your fight. Thank you. And coming up.